Hey guys, Crossflux here with another First Thoughts kind of video. Today's game is the demo of Nine Souls, a game being developed by Red Candle Games. These developers are incredibly promising as they've made Detention and Devotion, two amazing horror games. This time it seems that they're trying their hand at a 2D action platformer, seemingly similar in tone to Hollow Knight and or Dark Souls. This is right up my alley though, as Hollow Knight is one of my favorite games. Nine Souls features an amazing hand-drawn art style and seems to combine the aesthetics of modern technology and traditional Eastern architecture. The demo was released several months ago at this point on Steam and features about an hour's worth of content. It seems to be literally the first hour of the game, although some of the scenes may be streamlined a bit for the sake of the demo. It gives us just enough time to get to know our not-silent protagonist, Yi. He seems to be a robot or a cyborg of some sort, and seems to have a secret mission, possibly related to eliminating the souls or gods of this realm. Besides this, there's a heavy focus on combat in the demo. For the most part, this feels really nice. Could use a little more polish, but what's there is really good. Yi has a standard 3-hit combo that advances him slightly forward with each hit. This can be a bit awkward, as I feel remaining stationary is really important for a game about positioning and precision. He also has a smooth jump with a controllable arc and doesn't move with annoying momentum. His dash feels good, but is on a slightly longer cooldown than I would prefer. Personally, I'd like for his dash to be on like a half a second cooldown. To make up for this, maybe the dash would only make you invincible after a longer cooldown. Again, like how Hollow Knight does it with the Shade Cloak upgrade. One last thing about the dash, it should be usable in the air. As it is, you feel incredibly vulnerable. This could be the intended experience, but I don't like the way it feels. Speaking of air, there is also no double jump. Now, obviously this is just a demo, and I do know that the game will have Metroidvania elements, so there's a possibility that a double jump and or air dash will be upgrades later on down the line, but if not, they should be considered. Tied to the dash, Yi also has a special dash that's sort of magical in nature. By dashing through enemies, he puts a talisman on them. Continuing to hold the button during the dash will cause this talisman to explode, dealing hefty damage. And dude, this feels so satisfying. Red Candle did an amazing job with the animations and timing of this skill. It takes up a resource that can be obtained through Yi's last combat technique. Guarding is essential, as it greatly reduces damage and knockback. If the guard is timed perfectly, you also regenerate some sort of chakra or mana, some sort of energy system, which is used to power your talisman ability, and perhaps might be used for other sorts of unlockable upgrades later on in the game, but this is the only one they show off in the demo. Like with the dash, the perfect guard feels very satisfying, thanks to the animation and the Eastern gong sound effect that plays. Next up, the enemies. Most of them are pretty cool looking, but they're not that fun to fight, at least in a one-on-one scenario. In the demo, you have a soldier who can slash at you with a telegraphed attack. All you need to do is guard and hit him when he's vulnerable. There's an archer enemy who kinda just runs away and peppers you with arrows. These can be deflected with the guard, but they're pretty simple to defeat as well. Just rush them and there's not really much they can do. Where things get tricky is when they sick multiple enemies on you at once. Now you have to keep in mind multiple enemy patterns and learn who to prioritize and when you can even capitalize on an enemy's weak point. I hope they add some enemies that will respond more to your actions specifically. This way you could bait out a certain response from them. For example, if there was an enemy that had both a ranged and a melee attack, perhaps you could provoke them into using the ranged attack while you dealt with another baddie in the same room. That way you don't have two guys breathing down your neck at the same time. Another enemy they have is a spearman who functions pretty similarly to the swordsman, but he's a bit more mobile. This is a nice progression of difficulty. Speaking of progression, Nine Souls so far does an excellent job at this. They slowly introduce new concepts and challenges one at a time so that you know what you're getting into. Then they add something onto that same challenge to make it difficult in an incremental fashion. This is really good design. The enemies aren't too difficult, but this is to be expected. This is a demo, and the developers most likely want it to be completable so that more people can give their feedback, and or get hooked on it. I do have a feeling though that this game will be a tad on the difficult side, again like Hollow Knight or Dark Souls, because once you complete the demo, you unlock a standalone boss on the title screen. This boss is really difficult, and is intended to be quite the challenge. It really shows off what tricks Red Candle has up their sleeves for difficulty. Not only is the fight itself challenging, but you get to immediately restart it upon death. This makes repeating the same fight less tedious. Something I would suggest though is to cut out the intro animation to the fight after subsequent attempts. It's not that long, but it does add up after, say, your 50th attempt. Just like with combat, the platforming shown off in the demo is pretty standard. Run, jump, wall run, dash. There don't appear to be any stage gimmicks like hookshot targets or slippery ice or things like that, but again, the demo most likely just doesn't have some of these things because the intention is to get across the basics of Yi's control scheme. That being said, Yi does control well. He's very responsive and has just enough tools in his arsenal to make moving him around a joy in and of itself. That's the number one thing for me in a platformer. Is the character simply fun to control? I know I often come back to this game as an example, but look at Mario 64. The stages themselves are pretty bland, all things considered, but what makes traversing them so fun is the control scheme of Mario himself. It's just fun to move him around and make him jump and stuff. So far, controlling Yi evokes the same feelings in me. Quick side note, one thing that made Hollow Knight so good was the seamless blending between platforming and combat. Hollow Knight wasn't a platforming game with combat elements, or a combat game with platforming elements. It was a perfect blend of both styles in one. Any platforming upgrade that you unlock throughout your journey in Hallownest weren't just used as keys to unlock new areas of the map. They also assisted you in combat. Since the knight was just as mobile and deadly in the air as he was on the ground, the double jump essentially gave you extended time to pull off some aerial combos. The wall jump lets you outmaneuver foes in tight spaces, and the Shade Cloak doesn't just speed up your overland travel time, but it also gives you a way to become temporarily immune to damage while repositioning yourself into a better spot. I bring all of this up because this is something that I hope Nine Souls will be able to utilize. Make it so that Yi's platforming is really put to the test, even in so-called combative situations. Overall, the demo is incredibly fun and promising. Nine Souls is shaping up to be quite a nice game from a highly respected developer. Obviously, it's free, so just download it and give it a try. Unless you're really bad at 2D side-scrollers, you should be able to get through it in about an hour or two, so it's not much of a time investment either. It does everything a demo should do, be a vertical slice of the game, rather than a horizontal slice of an element of a game. BrokenIdeas and I have backed this game on their own Kickstarter-esque crowdfunding campaign. This means that we do have access to their beta playtest as well. We'll be taking a look at this content and seeing what has changed and what hasn't, so definitely stay tuned for that. Anyways, have a blessed day, and we'll see you in the next one.